Good evening, Sarah here again. We have something a little more serious, a little heavier, again, to deal with tonight. But this lady has put together something unusual and something that is unusually insightful, I think. But let's see what we got here. Y'all recognize Jazz Jennings, of course. Jazz here is going to be undergoing past life regression. Yay! And our host, who is a lady I've never heard of, she's commenting on the Jazz Jennings video, brings together a lot of different threads, and at least a couple of which I think are really, really insightful for reasons we'll go into in a minute.
So today we're going to switch up a bit. So we're doing some past life regression. If you're keeping score at home, the current tally is transgender, yes. Transracial, no. Trans life, yes. Trans age, no. This is probably one of the deeper levels of hypnosis.
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Futurama!
Probably one of the deeper levels of hypnosis that a person can experience. Probably. Aren't you the expert? Do you have a schematic for the levels of hypnosis a person can experience?
No, she doesn't. No one does. No one is an expert in hypnosis. Because hypnosis is mesmerism, which was created by a guy named Franz Mesmer in the 18th century. And he was determined to be a fraud in France by people, none other than Benjamin Franklin, among other people, who I'm sure you have also heard of. Yeah, a very smart fellow, I've been told. Yeah, he was a quack. And, talked about animal magnetism and tried to cure people with magnets. And the kind of thing was like they would hold, the magnet behind a screen, and it was if he couldn't see it, then he didn't react to it. Almost like it's bullshit. And I guess he believed his own bullshit, and lots of other people believed his bullshit. And, the Britannica article says that after he was, determined to be a quack, mesmerism, fell by the wayside. And it's like, well, I guess not, though. It also mentions legitimate applications for hypnosis, and it doesn't say what those are. Because one of them is implanting false memories. I don't know if that's a legitimate use, but it's a very efficient one. It's very effective. And they have determined now that it's actually extremely easy to implant false memories in people, and hypnosis is one of the most effective ways to do it.
So what? I'm just a little bit confused. So we're going to go into my past lives, multiple lives, or just one life? You've probably had many, many, many past lives.
I'm open to past life regression because I believe that I've had past lives, and maybe it could unlock the doors of my mind or my past.
The concept of reincarnation and past life.
Okay, so that lady basically just told her that anything she says is fine. Anything. The therapist just told Jazz Jennings that anything I don't know, poor child. Oh, Jazz. We'll go with she. I feel that person is definitely oppressed and belittled enough. I don't know. I don't have, fast and hard rules about that kind of thing like some people do. I simply do not have the extra bandwidth to obsess over other people's pronouns in the positive or the negative sense. So we're just going to go with she at this point. Anything she says is okay. And then Jazz says, oh, well, I'm totally open to this. So obviously this is going to go well, right?
Regression are inherent to the idea that you can be born into the wrong body. Reincarnation and past life regression are inherent to the idea that you can be born into the wrong body.
That's true. Absolutely. And that is the crux of the bridge to the fantasy world. Okay? And the reason that this caught my attention so strongly is that this is what I believed myself for many years. About 15 years, give or take. And coming out of that really did feel like losing my religion, which was weird because I considered myself to be agnostic, But I believed in reincarnation. I was raised Wiccan, okay? Give me a break. Wiccans believe in everything. I'm lucky I'm not, reading tarot cards somewhere. Which, love to you if you love tarot cards, but, I don't. Anyway. So, yeah, if you... Well, she'll tell you. Real
You
quick.
can be born into a body. That means you existed prior to the body, and you exist independent of the body, and you were placed into a body. So why wouldn't you be able to just, snake molt your way out and find another body to go into? Here, I'll let Alec explain.
Okay, I don't know. She brings in a lot of random clips that, the whole thing is a little all over the place. I see what she's going for. It's the kind of thing where, stick with it, honey. You're going to develop something really good here. But, the point she's making is that it's an immortal soul, is what it is. Your gender essence is your immortal soul. And people have remarked on this before, but it's just becoming more and more obvious.
Darling, the threat is a system that has made you mistake your...
Yeah.
And then as you kind of settle into yourself in a lifetime, you go through a process of associating, of reconstituting yourself. And then you die and you become disassociated again. But yeah, that's a big part of the religious dogma here that it's not explicit, but it's there.
So we're going to go revisit a past life that's going to evaluate and offer healing to your binge eating in this lifetime.
So you go from one life to the next, and you carry the memories with you. In Scientology, they call this engrams.
And she brings Scientology in it for reasons that I'm not entirely clear on. Now, it's not necessary at all.
That will dictate which lifetime we go
I'll tell you that. I'm not going to say Scientology is not involved because who knows, they only control the biggest media engine in the entire world. Who the fuck knows what they have their fingers in?
I'm asking that cloud to move and carry you back into time and space.
Random clip, yay!
My family wants me. Why? What happened? Okay, you're gay.
It is quite startling how in touch with his real feelings Jazz Jennings still is. And it's just so unbelievably tragic that the only way he can express those feelings is by setting them in some past life.
Made you mistake your latent dissociation as a personality.
He was hungry to be accepted.
Jazz in this life just...
Okay. So did you catch that? In the past life, he says he's, wandering around starving because his family doesn't want him because he's gay. And then he says, I guess this is he now. I don't know. Because it's the little boy talking, I guess. It's very symbolic. Hungry for acceptance. Meanwhile, this person is here for the hypnosis, trying to figure out why they binge eat. Yeah, Jazz has a binge eating problem, I guess, which really fucking sucks. 2/3 of my family are, binge eaters, and it's hard. I've watched, several people I love dearly struggle with that exact thing. And it's trying to fill a spiritual hole with food. As corny as and simplified as that sounds. That is what it seems to boil down to.
Can't relate.
So we're going to leave the scene and we're going to drift and float forward.
Disassociate ourselves from that time in that space.
Let's take ourselves away from our true feelings now.
Dissociation.
Oh, God, I hate that guy so much.
Floating and drifting, and you're there now.
Oh, come on.
I was never able to live the life that I wanted. I don't want to do what? I don't want to live anymore.
Startling.
No, I'm just alone in the market. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten.
Yeah. So out in the marketplace, where everyone is. Out with everyone, but starving. For acceptance. That sounds like a pretty on-the-nose, symbolic portrait of what this person is actually experiencing. Literally experiencing in their life right now. You don't need reincarnation to explain any of this. Right here. But it really does make a handy explanation if you want to separate yourself from lots of stuff that you really don't feel comfortable dealing with.
Could this potentially represent a meat market?
What advice can you give her? You have perspective of all.
Your latent disassociation.
And now your spirit. You have full perspective of everything about that lifetime.
Coming out of the hypnosis. was definitely able to connect a few dots from my past life to my current life.
The purpose of auditing in Scientology is to figure out why you have present health conditions by connecting them to your experiences in past lives. This is just Scientology.
Okay, yeah, but that's like the purpose of past life regression also.
Such a popular TV family.
Okay,
They wouldn't have
I
motivation
don't know
to prove that children are small adults who get reincarnated life to life, and therefore can consent to these elaborate interventions. And further, that they consented already. They signed a billion-year contract.
Right, yeah, so I don't know what all that is about Scientology. Because again, that's the purpose of past life regression, to blame all of your current problems on some life that's already over. Okay? And then that becomes, all kinds of handy excuses for not bothering to really dedicate yourself to living the life that you have now. Especially if the life you used to have wasn't more interesting, and I again, I don't know about the Scientology, but it's not even necessary to bring this all together.
Phenomenally. Then the auditor reinforces the win, they call it, the realization that you used to be someone else, and that's why you have XYZ issue in this life.
Yeah, and I think that her being able to experience that past life allowed her to connect the binge eating and her needing and wanting acceptance.
Completely
you unprofessional.
Ignoring the local causes for Jazz's feelings of lack of acceptance.
Right, exactly. Like this irresponsible, unprofessional fuck. God.
I'm making up for, that past life where I wasn't able to be myself.
So it's not that anything is a problem in this life. It's that
right?
Jazz brought this problem in from his past life.
That kind of makes sense.
I finally feel empowered to gain back control over my life.
The fact that it kind of makes sense is like the worst bit sometimes, because the worst illusions are the ones that are so close to reality, right? Because if it were truly bizarre, well, you wouldn't be stupid enough to buy that, would you? And this empowerment that is mentioned here is an illusion. Actual real empowerment is a wide array of choices. Okay, so you're empowered to do what you want and figure out what that is. That's not what happened here. This person has just been empowered to, escape reality further. Right? That's what happened here. It's the illusion of of control created by just burying your actual problems.
Yay. Transgender ideology is a fundamentally religious movement. It does not make any sense otherwise. How can a gender identity exist independent of the body such that it can be born into the wrong body? That doesn't make any sense.
There it is. She does a really good job here of explaining exactly why it needs the spirit element. It doesn't work without it. And, well, as she goes on to say, we're supposed to have freedom of religion in this country, freedom from religion in this country. You're supposed to be free to be a non-believer of whatever, A lot of atheists would be like, well, you believe in God, I just believe in one less. Lots of people, they used to believe in lots of gods, now you only believe in one, and I just have one fewer than that. And you should be allowed to do that.
We see here that
constitutionally allowed to do that.
To invoke some sort of past life regression. This idea that in the past you were actually a different sex, and that you do have a true sex of some sort. They try to dress it up in science, but the science always assumes that the categories already exist. So none of the science that purports to be proof that the categories exist actually prove it. It's all just circular reasoning at best.
Yeah.
And it's usually just outright prima facie nonsense, like the article about how small tooth differences prove that trans and cis teeth are different and therefore something.
I didn't see that, but I have weird teeth. I have strange shaped teeth, apparently, that is supposedly related to some sort of Asian genetic variant. And look at me. So I have no idea what those people are even on about at all. Okay, and now our hostess is going to bring it home for us. I didn't mean to make that a pun. Anyway.
It's whether you prefer skirts or pants on your sexual partner.
Here we go.
So we need to recognize it for what it is, which is an attempt to enshrine a religious ideology into law. In other words, an attempt to respect an establishment of religion and make it compulsory.
Yeah.
But we have freedom of religion in the United States. We have the right to be gender atheists. We have the right not to believe without adequate evidence.
Not only do I love this angle, it's completely unconstitutional, okay, to demand that people show deference to your goddamn spiritual self. No, it's not how that works here, and that is the point. Remember, we were founded by people who came from a country where the king was the head of the church. And that if you didn't belong to the Church of England, there was a decent chance you could get freaking executed. For real. You know, dead and stuff. Forever gone, as my 4-year-old would say. I don't mean to sound paranoid here. Regardless, religion is not supposed to be compulsory in the United States, and that's why we are supposed to be insulated from that, because it can get very serious. Okay? This is not a game. And maybe if we started recognizing it as the religious movement that it is in a more, more regularly and more assertively, it's so simple. We might be able to get some movement on it. Who knows? It's worth a shot. And the reason that it spoke to me so strongly is, as I said, that was literally my belief from the time that I was, you know, a young teenager until I was in my late 20s. You know, that I was so opinionated and mouthy and abrasive, you know, because I was actually a man inside, because my last life, blah, 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 blah. And then for whatever reason, at one point I had, you know, a final crisis, and I'm like, well, you know, I feel like I've been at this crossroads before, and if I, you know, I stuck to this then, and obviously that didn't work, so, oops, logic has, you know, and I literally gave up half of my identity from the time I was like 15, everything I had built for myself. I just threw it in the garbage and started over in a lot of ways. It was really weird and really difficult, but so, you know, I sympathize, I really do, with the denial. Okay. I understand hiding because, I mean, gosh, after a certain point, and you know, all I had to do was change my mind. Poor Jazz. I cannot can't live the life that he wanted to, so he doesn't want to live anymore. I guess he is probably right then. Yeah, wouldn't you say? And so, you know, food? I don't know. Everybody has their freaking coping mechanisms, right? So, you know, no judgment. I all the sympathy in the world. And I just can't even imagine what it must be like to have been enveloped by your parents' mother, for sure, right? I've never watched more than a few clips of that show, because how does anyone watch that for entertainment? What kind of psycho? Anyway, Jazz cannot change his mind. He will be starving for that acceptance forever, and no amount of food is going to help that. No amount of weird hypnosis memory implantation is going to fix any of this. Let's go ahead and get her down. We love her, but so that's really it, you know. It is a religious movement, and you don't need Scientology to explain it. You don't need anything else than, quite frankly, New Age spiritualism, which is only rampant, right? Every other person you meet is like, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. You know. So, Coincidence? I guess that's what I'm saying. But no one is really talking about it from directly from this angle. They're like, oh, wow, this really feels and operates and, you know, seems like a religious fundamentalist movement. How weird. These are liberals, though. No, because liberal means a thing. You know, it means, in favor of collective action and against censorship. Which the Democrats are neither of those things. Most liberal activists are none of those things. They're so worried about ethnic minorities and, trans identities and whatnot that they just keep splitting people into smaller and smaller categories and have absolutely no even understanding of collective action and what that would, how do you do that? When, everyone is their own special, unique snowflake. I'm tired. And it's just a fantastic story, and it really is. We've lost religion in our society in large part. Okay, right? We all know this. Like, religion is just plummeted. The problem there is that we didn't replace it with anything, and all of that circuitry is still in our brains. Which is, I guess, just another example of how being in denial about something that you don't like about yourself leaves you open for all kinds of bullshit to be implanted in your mind. And I suppose I'll leave it there. Poor Jazz. Be honest with yourselves, everybody. If you can't be honest with anybody else, at least be honest with yourself. And me, I'm going to brazenly go hunt down more stuff to bitch about or draw your attention to, and like the video if you enjoyed and found this interesting. Subscribe to the channel for all kinds of more off-the-wall goodies and dark reflections. And I will see you soon.